Yippee-yi-yi, yippee-yi-oh.
Hello, my fellow readers. My name is Greg. This is Ghost Readers in the Sky. And it is the month of October. Many people on BookTube are celebrating the event Victober, where you read Victorian literature. So anything that was written basically in the British Isles during the reign of Queen Victoria. And I thought I would read some poetry. I'm going to add an extra poetry day, Victorian Poetry Friday. We'll see how it goes. But I have some things planned for this month. And I'm going to start with poetry from Robert Louis Stevenson. Many of you know how much I love Robert Louis Stevenson. And one of the first poetry books that I remember was a children's version of A Child's Garden of Verses that my grandmother had. It was a large book that you could spread out on the floor and read, and it had, a poem and a big illustration. And I don't know if it was all of the poems or not. I don't remember, but there were some that just really struck me. And it was one of the first poetry books that I really paid attention to and actually learned a few poems. So I'm going to read 3 today. These are all by Robert Louis Stevenson, all from A Child's Garden of Verses, which was published in 1885. And I'm going to start with The Swing. The Swing by Robert Louis Stevenson. How do you like to go up in a swing, up in the air so blue? Oh, I do think it is the pleasantest thing ever a child can do. Up in the air, over the wall, till I see so wide rivers and trees and cattle and all over the countryside. Till I look down on the garden green, down on the roof so brown, up in the air I go flying again, up in the air and down. The Cow by Robert Louis Stevenson. The friendly cow, all red and white, I love with all my heart. She gives me cream with all her might, to eat with apple tart. She wanders lowing here and there, and yet she cannot stray, all in the pleasant open air, the pleasant light of day. And blown by all the winds that pass, and wet with all the showers, she walks among the meadow grass and eats the meadow flowers. My Shadow by Robert Louis Stevenson. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me, and what can be the use of him is more than I can see. He is very, very like me from the heels up to his head, and I see him jump before me when I jump into bed. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow. No, not at all like proper children, which is always very slow. For he sometimes shoots up taller like an India rubber ball, and he sometimes gets so little that there's none of him at all. He hasn't got a notion of how children ought to play. Can only make a fool of me in every sort of way. He stays so close beside me. He's a coward, you can see. I'd think shame to stick to nursey as that shadow sticks to me. One morning, very early, before the sun was up, I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup. But my lazy little shadow, like an errant sleepyhead, had stayed at home behind me and was fast asleep in bed. Yeah, as I mentioned, poetry from the Scottish writer Robert Louis Stevenson. All three of these were from A Child's Garden of Verses, published in 1885. And it's part of my way of celebrating Victober. My plan is to do more Victorian poems on Fridays throughout the month, ending up, if I got the calendar right, on Halloween. I hope you enjoyed these poems. Thanks for watching. And until next time, my name is Greg, and this is Ghost Readers in the Sky.